All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session, a very special session, I would say. And so my name is Sanjeev Jain. I am your host today. I am, co-founder and director at a boutique HR consulting firm called Enabling World. So this program is coming on behalf of Enabling World. And we have been running a series of, knowledge sessions, actually discussions and debates around various interesting topics. And diversity and inclusion is our favorite, actually, I can say that. We have chosen difficult topics, actually, besides gender diversity that we all talk quite a bit about. We have spoken about, inclusion, about disability, neurodiversity, and today we are going to talk about a subject which is very sensitive, complex, but very critical for us as corporates and as society, which is LGBTQAI inclusion at the workplace focus. Our focus will be more on the workplace. So before I begin, so let me first introduce our experts today. Maybe introduce the organization first. Let me do that. So Enabling World is, we are in 11th year with your blessings and good wishes. And this is something which was started by my colleague who is there in the call today, Sushil Tayal, and I joined him 5 years back. We have interest in a few areas. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is in the center of it by design, and we do a lot of work on employee well-being and HR consulting, leadership, and talent development. These are a few areas that we work on. That's what our interests are. Now, so let me first, welcome and introduce our experts here. Let me start with Jaya. Jaya, maybe I will let you talk about yourself, but I will say few things. I know her for a few years now, and she's a very young and dynamic HR leader. And she is very diverse. I think she has worked in about 14, 15 different countries, Jaya, if I'm not wrong. And she has special interest in diversity and about talent. And I think this topic is so critical that we are fortunate to get a diverse global view on what's happening, because the world is divided as far as LGBTQI conclusion is concerned. So Jaya, welcome. Thank you very much. And she's joining from London. She's a Senior Vice President, HR Head in Emphasis Europe. And thank you very much for taking time out, Jaya.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Pleasure.
All right. Yeah. So what to add to what I've said? Anything?
No, that's you've said everything, Sanjeev. I think I'm good on this.
All right. Then let me introduce Umang. Umang is I would say, special guest today. And we are very lucky and honored to have him here for a few reasons. One, he's the one who is from LGBTQI community. He is a gay and declared, and he is an activist. He has done tremendous amount of work about LGBTQI inclusion, especially on the mental health of this community. So he does a lot of serious work around this, and we'll be hearing a lot from him, about his advice, about his insights. So thank you very much, Umang, and he's joining from Mumbai today.
Yes. Thank you, Sanjeev, for inviting me and doing this wonderful work.
All right. He's also founder of Gay Bombay, Hugging Club of India, Mr. and Mr. So we'll talk about it, Umang, from you.
Sure.
What your journey has been. We are all intrigued to hear from you.
Sure.
In Pavas, last but not least, Pavas is again an old friend, I would say. And Pavas is, again, he has a very, varied experience, global. I think 6 months back, he was in US holding very senior HR leadership position in United Health Group, and he has just come back to India and holding he's a very senior HR professional. So he's coming today representing himself, and that's what it is. So Pavas, thank you so much for joining today.
Pleasure is mine, Sandeep. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and really look forward to the conversation.
All right, and he is joining us from Bangalore. So people all across. And I also want to call out my friend, my partner, Sushil Tayal, who's the founder actually of Enabling, but he's the one who started, and I joined him, and he's my class fellow. Also, he's my friend and business partner both. So I'm lucky that way. So thank you, Sushil, for joining in today. All right. So with that, let's begin straightway, get into the session. Vijay, if you can stop sharing the screen. Wonderful. So a few things. One, let's keep it very interactive, and I promise we'll close at 5 p.m. India time. That's a promise, and we'll keep it very sharp focused on the topic that we have chosen today. My request will be keep it interactive. 1 hour is too short for such a complex subject, but time is always limited. So let's see what best we can do about it. My only suggestion is keep it very interactive. Use chat. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with Zoom, so use chat. Those who are on LinkedIn Live, you're also welcome. It is on YouTube Live as well. So my team will be there to monitor any comment which is coming on LinkedIn Live as well, and we'll bring it up here. If there is any question and query, we'll try as much as possible to answer. And my suggestion to panelists would be expert, while we are talking, if you see any comment in the chat, feel free to jump in and respond. My experience has been we almost run a parallel session sometimes while one session is going on here. So feel free to comment that as well. All right. And so I think as a context, we are around the Pride Month, which is in the month of June. We celebrate, and it's a good time for us to, just reflect on this subject. While the topic itself is beyond Pride Month, right? We should not and we cannot limit our focus and attention just to Pride Month, but these days are sometimes very useful because you can't think about everything every day, right? So sometimes these are like Mother's Day, Safety Day. It doesn't mean safety is not important throughout the year. It is, but it's a special occasions to just remind ourselves, reinforce, amplify the message. I think that way, I think that's a good system. Someone has created that, and I think that is really helping. But I think the focus today is that we should not and would not like to stay just with the Pride Month, that we do a lot of activity and we forget about it. And the focus will be how can we sustain this continuously throughout the year and year after year and every day, every moment kind of thing, right? So that's what it is. But as a context, I personally see, I've been in HR field for now, since 82, 83 in my work career. And I have seen a transformation. I mean, I can confess without any shame that when I was young, I had absolutely zilch knowledge about, what does it mean to be LGBTQAI? I may not even have understood the terms, right? And even if people were making some jokes about it, he's homo, things like that, I was not able to appreciate and understand what does it mean? Is it really hurting? I mean, honestly. And over the period, thanks to my experience, I worked with some wonderful organizations like IBM, HCL. I really grew up with that, and along with in this society also. So we all grew up, at least people at my age, many of us would have grown from a stage where our knowledge was very, very limited to current stage where we are quite aware of it, right? And the younger generation, fortunately, is much more aware, right? Much more open to talk about it. My daughter, she's about 28. She knows and she talks without any hesitation. I may still hesitate to talk about these things, but she doesn't hesitate, right? And her vocabulary, her knowledge is tremendous about it. I think we'll talk about it with generation, what the issues are. But I think the issues is that still, there were a lot of reports like Mingle, there is an organization, NGO, which did a survey, and they still feel that 60% of LGBTQI community feels discriminated at the workplace, right? It's a serious issue, and the burden that a person carries about not disclosing about the issues, about the harassment that person can feel at the workplace or in the society at large is tremendous, right? So I think we have made progress as country, as corporates, especially in India. I would say last 2-3 years we have made good progress after the judgment which came about decriminalization. So there is some movement I can see across, but I think it's not enough, and we need to do more about it. So today's attempt will be really focused not on the problem so much, but more on the solution, what has worked in our experiences, what our advice is, rather than focusing just on the problem. So that's what is the issue would be, right? All right. So with that, let's get into the session straight away. First of all, Jaya, let me start with you, maybe ladies first. Why do you think it is important to talk about LGBTQI inclusion, first of all? I mean, is it just a good thing to do as a humanity, or does it make a business sense? Can you elaborate on that?
So for everybody, I think, this whole conversation on LGBTQ is something which is not an element which we can ignore today. And why do I say that? It's because the basis of it is, if you think about it, it's an element of bringing up the social justice to the communities, right? And this social justice basically on the back of, trusting these set of communities, being transparent with them as we would do with any other male or female, as we call, and also probably, encouraging the set of communities to have the equality that they deserve. Okay, so that's the reason I think it's very, very important to talk about this community. And an important thing to mention about it, as when you did the introduction, Sanjeev, you did mention that, we have Umang here, who's a gay, and he's proudly, ready to be out and mentioning about it. The one thing that people would be hesitant about, bringing this up is there are people who may not be a gay or a lesbian or transgender, but can I support them? Am I, an ally? That's a very important thing. The misconception is that you have to be one in order to be there and talk about it. No, you could just be an ally. And that's something that, and that's the whole world around. Okay. This community may not be as big, but then the remaining part of the world is there to support. And if that becomes the case, we are talking of a different world altogether as we go. You're on mute, Sanjeev.
I'm saying there's a social justice, absolutely, that of course goes without saying. But are there any other additional business benefits, business case of why we should do in case we don't do, what? And as a business, are we going to lose something, or there's no difference?
No, hugely. I think now, if you see, the corporates have really had a serious conversation around this. We have got now in the corporates, you have matrices which have started to look at, this community, the various communities, and how we fare in the organization in terms of policies, in terms of trainings, in terms of their participation into networking events, into the way their satisfaction to the workforce and the job is being treated. So it has to start from the top, because like any other element that happens in the corporate, and because I'm in the corporate, probably I'll be more closer to talking about it than any other place. It has to that blessing which comes from the top goes down as something where people do not have to fear, where they feel rewarded in case they show a neutral mindset, not a biased mindset. That's a very important thing. I may, even if I'm not supporting, I'm not discriminating.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very important element. And encouraging a behavior like that at workplace is something which is now getting measured. Though I would still say, whether it is the government policies or even the society network, he's still got to go a long way on this. And I'll give you an example, Sanjeev. If you see in UK, the government has mandated a gender pay gap reporting. Okay, basically, male versus female, what is the gap on the
India, there is
salary.
a law called Equal Remuneration Act. So it's a similar. So we have to declare Equal Remuneration Act is there in India.
Correct. And that still is only talking about the gender male and female. That has to broaden up. And I'm sure in the coming years that will happen.
I really wish so. Umang, coming to you, I think you are doing deep work, in this area, right? First of all, if I can start with, if you can take 2-3 minutes and tell us a little more about your story, if you don't mind. I want to really know, and I want all of our audience to know about you. Take 2-3 minutes, but to tell your story. How did you start? Briefly, because the time is limited. You started so many activities about Hugging Club, Mr. Gay Bombay, whatever your activities are. Tell us a little more about it. We really want to feel inspired.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for this special request, and thanks for doing this. So I'll quickly tell you that we'll get a context also. So I was born in a dysfunctional family. My mother had schizophrenia and my dad has bipolar. So I grew up being very ashamed of my parents, And in all this, I happened to be gay and very effeminate. So I was always different, my family was different. And when it comes to me, that I was called Baila, Chakka, Ijada, all these things when I was growing up. I remember people bullying me, beating me, and I didn't know what to do with my life. I thought once upon a time I'm an alien. What motivated me to do all this thing, cutting it short, I started Gay Bombay because when I came out, I realized being gay was all about sex. It was synonymous with sex. And I realized, no, there is more to it. So I started Gay Bombay in 1998 and called people to come to a place called McDonald's, which is a family place. So when you come to a McDonald's, you're not gay. So I took this step to create a community, where then for 15 years, it was like alternate sexuality every alternate Sunday, parents meet, just to make them comfortable that you can go home and talk to your parents when you meet parents of other gay people. So I built a whole community to give them a sense of belonging. And then it's going on for years now. I started Gay Hugging Club of India because somebody told very profound when I was ashamed of my parents. They told me that, Umang, your mom did not choose schizophrenia. Schizophrenia chose your mom. मेरे पापा बुरे इंसान नहीं है, उन्हें बुरी बीमारी है. My father, whenever he got money, he went to casinos and gambling houses, never came home. He has bipolar, sorry. So it is the illness I have to fight with, not with him. So equipped with this, I started the Hugging Club of India, a space where people can openly talk, I was bullied, harassed, I hallucinate, I'm taking drugs. When you talk, half the thing is done, and I connect them to psychiatrists, psychologists. It's been 5 years and we've done a lot of work over there. It's growing on its own. Thirdly, Mr. and Mr. is a gay matchmaking initiative to find a life partner in a healthier way. The whole idea is that straight people, heterosexual, have a roadmap, what to do with their life. You get married, you have a wife, you will get a kid, your life will revolve around the kid, grandparents. But when we come out, it's dark. We don't know what to do with our life. There is no roadmap. There is no role model, no milestones, And in this, we have suicidal thoughts. We have so much mental health trauma, because whole life we have been trying to fit in and not accepted, So that's the reason I started a gay matchmaking initiative to help the community find a life partner in a healthier way. Thank you.
Wow. I am really, really inspired. One person and each initiative can take a huge courage, first of all, and the conviction and persistence to really do it. So, the only thing I can just salute you, for the effort that you make. But that's the only thing.
Thanks
so we
for
all
kind words.
Inspired. Thank you. And we'll come to you, Umang, to know a little more about it. So, Pawas, coming to you, you are in US till recently, maybe 6 months back. I think you spent a few years there, and we have the advantage because today, globally, the world is divided, right? People are at different stages. There are countries and societies and cultures where the same-sex marriage is allowed and it's a free society. One can be what one is. And to the societies where you can be punished, there can be death penalty in case you indulge in this kind of thing, which is your alternatives, sexual preferences. In India, where we are still confused, right? The question is still with the Supreme Court. Is it there, not there? We have decriminalized, but the same-sex marriage still is being debated quite a bit. So I think, we are lucky that we can get different perspective. What I've heard is what I want to check two things with you. One, what is the talent imperative to look at this, LGBTQI inclusion, from a HR head, from a senior HR leader point of view, from a talent leader point of view, what is the repercussion? Why should we even think about it? That is one question. Second question I want to, again, follow-up question will be, I've heard, things like a brain drain, but there's a gay brain drain, because there are a lot of people who are moving out of the countries where it is still not safe to disclose, and the environment is not conducive. People are moving out to countries like maybe US, where they can be what they are. And so there's a kind of brain drain that I hear, which is happening, right? So I want to hear your views about these two. You're on mute.
I think thank you for asking that thing, Sanjeev. And I want to start with a very small incident that happened with me, I think about 6 months back. And the reason I'm sharing this is to kind of link workplace to the external environment as well. I was driving down about 6 months back, and I had a small tiff with a person on the road, right? And I happened to take a U-turn when there were no signals and there was heavy traffic, and obviously I had to take a U-turn, so I took a U-turn. And then I got into a bit of a alteration with the individual, a heated conversation. But
Okay.
what really stuck with me until now is that when I got down of the car and he started talking to me, I was wearing orange shoes, okay? I was wearing blue shorts, and I was wearing green Ray-Ban goggles, okay?
Wow.
And I personally love colors,
Wow.
but that person, apart from talking about the mistake that I did in terms of taking a U-turn, he started talking to me saying that you're a man wearing orange shoes and you're a man wearing green goggles and stuff like that. So that stereotyping, I think, from an external environment leads into the workplace. Organizations need to keep in mind is that what we are in the company is also a reflection of how we are outside. So the overall community development is extremely important. Community education, community, I would say breaking some of the myths is extremely important. So I wanted to just call this out that, culture is extremely critical, but we should go beyond the workplace as well to see that what are the contribution we as organizations can make in the external workplace. From a talent perspective, I would say, the expectations what I have of me, of you or others in this conversation is exactly the same what I would have from the Pride community. There would be no difference at all, right? But what we need to keep in mind is that how do we make the workplace a bit more comfortable, a safe place wherein each of us can be ourselves, right? And that is where organizations play an extremely critical role. You know, uh, Education is obviously important, but more importantly, some of the visible changes that we can make for the talent, be it in terms of our policies, be it in terms of our workplaces, be it in terms of having specific programs wherein we help individuals from the Pride community to open up and help them assimilate into the organizations, right? I've been part of a few programs wherein the folks from the Pride community were extremely comfortable in terms of who they are, but they were not like this 5 years back or 6 years back. So I think a lot of progress has happened and a lot more has to be done. I do want to call out that, in one of my roles with my, earlier organizations, I was based out of the Philippines. The top talent in my HR team were members from the Pride community. So they were my left and they were my right hand. And clearly, I looked up to them because they had the energy, they had the will, they had the passion to actually get the job done. So that I would say for me is non-negotiable. But then to have Pride members, rise up and shine, that to me is a different feeling altogether. There may be a brain drain, Sanjeev, but I think some of the progress that we are making, is taking us in the right direction, and be it in US or wherever, I do feel that, there's a lot behind the scene activity as well. So right, the grass may not always be greener on the other side, right? But I do feel that, some countries are more progressive and some countries are getting there. But, the more we speak about it, the more we have folks like Umang, who are really talking about their community, the more we will get there.
Perfect.
Thomas?
So absolutely. So Jay, I want to check with you. I mean, do you see, some talent coming to UK because they don't feel comfortable in India? They said, hey, let's go to UK and then find out, which they don't want, but they're compelled to go there and then make their life, their career, because they feel more comfortable there. Have you heard such situations? You're on mute.
No, glad that you pointed out, Sanjeev. Yes, it's something that happens subtly, but it does happen.
Does happen.
It does happen. UK is a place where, at least I know I've worked in India and I've worked in UK, so I can make some comparative analysis of it. And maybe over the years, all of us have developed in this space. In the education system, I'll start from here. The education system in some of the developed countries have created an inbuilt acceptance and appreciation for all communities, including pride. So I'm just give you an example. My daughter, I like you say, I had a lady who came and said, oh, are you the children there? Is your husband coming? Mommy, you say partner, you don't say husband.
Exactly.
Okay. So,
I learned every day. My daughter corrects me every day. You can't say this. That's how it is said. I said, okay, thank you.
Starts with you call the partner. You can't say, because then you are assuming that the partner is a man. Okay. Yeah. So yes, here children would feel safer, and that's the route from where you'll have people entering the workforce. I can very well see here people coming from some of the developing nations, and they have very openly declared their orientations. Okay, at the workplace, it's easier, for some of the senior folks, Sanjeev, where, they are out talking about it and declaring. It's more difficult at the workplace as from a junior level, because they feel they can be spotted and probably could discriminate it. So while at the school and college level, they are much open, at the entry level, they are a little hesitant, but as they go up, they're still more open towards it.
That's very interesting insight you're bringing, Jay. I never thought about it. And if I'm looking back, I mean, I know in IBM, we had, few people that I know, even in HR, they were vice president, they were very senior level people. And they had declared, they had disclosed that they are from LGBTQAI community, and they are absolutely as effective as they could be. I think hats off to the kind of climate that you create. But I think you bring a very interesting perspective for us to be cautious about. We have to give special focus to youngsters who are getting into the workforce and encourage them, take care of them, because seniors, they would have found their way, right? They'll be more courageous to declare, right? But the younger generation, that's an interesting point you brought. So Umang, there's a lot of requests which is coming in the chat, and people are really excited to know how can people leverage. And I can see some comments here. Ria is saying that she is a part of the club that you have created, and she has greatly benefited from that. So how does one become a member? Can you put in the chat the link or the way people can click and go? There are a lot of people want to know about it.
Sure. You can just Google the Hugging Club of India. It's on Facebook, Instagram, and we have a website. So just Google Hugging Club of India and you will get the links. We meet every Wednesday and Sunday, and we're doing it for 5 years. It's a support group where people openly talk. I have drug addiction, I have trauma, and people, and then we connect them to psychiatrists and psychologists. Sometimes they tell for the first time that I was beaten, I was raped, or I'm having trauma, and we connect them to psychiatrists, psychologists. People discuss their therapy, medicine, and we sponsor their treatment. So we meet every Wednesday and Sunday, and everybody is welcome, online and offline.
Yeah, my suggestion would be, guys, if you are not registered for this program, and if you are on LinkedIn Live, please leave your email address. What I'll do, I'll take some input from Umang and give this links and some required information. I promise we'll send it to all so that you can benefit from there, right? So yes, Umang, coming to you, for a corporate, because today our focus is more on the corporate at the workplace, how can a corporate take advantage of organizations like that you have started, for example, right? Hugging Club, because the knowledge is limited. Everyone has a very different level of awareness, knowledge, and you can't do it alone. You need help, right? Whether it's support in terms of the mental health, or it is about advisory service, expertise service. Can you tell me some unique organizations or NGOs, or maybe some bodies which are like the Pride Circle, etc., which corporates can take advantage of? And in India in particular, I know we have colleagues from all over, but in particularly in India, what are those resources that we can leverage? And you can put in the chat if you want. I mean,
Sure. I'll quickly run down. There are resources like the Humsafar. There is Hugging Club of India, and there are, as you said, Pride Circle. There are some resources. What I want the corporate can use us in terms of doing a lot of seminars and workshops. So I'll just give you quickly why this is so important both ways. So what I want to know is, see, if I'm a gay person and I'm going to a corporate, if I want to give my 100%, but my 20-30% is going and hiding my identity, worrying about if people will find out, there is bullying, then I'm not giving my 100%. I'm not productive. I'm only using 70% of my productivity. 30% is managing my mind and fear. Then you are not giving the best to the company, and the company is not getting more productive. So it is the interest of a corporate to have these policies, zero tolerance to homophobia, zero tolerance to discrimination in place, so I can come 100%. So it is like this, if you are giving me a sense of belonging, I can be called by, the way I want to, he, her, him. I can move my hands the way I want to. I can dress the way I want. If you are giving me a sense of belonging, I'll give you a sense of ownership. Okay? Give me a sense of belonging, I'll give you a sense of ownership. If you are giving me extended benefit, insurance, medical, I will work extended hours for you. It's a win-win thing. Okay? Today, the new generation has so many offers, but he will take an offer of a corporate because he's offering so many benefits to the LGBT community and getting brownie points. So this is how it is very important for the corporates to include LGBT people at the workforce, because it's a win-win thing. Secondly, we can have seminars because people have so many biases. I will just give you a very good example how we evolve. See, all the people who come we all come with our biases, and these biases are not personal. See, somebody called me Chakka Baila 20 years back. I was very angry. Today, if somebody calls me, he is being conditioned by the society, by Bollywood. He is not born hating Umang. Somebody has put into his head, right? Yeah. So if we have such kind of training workshops, that Umang, like you accept all colors of flowers, red, yellow, white, pink. You don't say, I don't want yellow roses. They all are part of nature. I am also part of nature. I did not choose to be gay. God made me gay. If we have such kind of workshops, seminars where bring awareness, there could be something called can sit with corporates and one-on-one and tell them what is the glossary, what are the lived experiences, reverse mentoring. There is something called as Rainbow Alliance. 15-20 leaders can corporates like Humsafar and other places, allies can sit and do that. All these things can happen if there is a willingness, So this is what we can come in the picture. So it's a whole journey. It's a journey from unfamiliarity to advocacy. From familiarity brings comfort. Comfort brings respect and acceptance. And acceptance brings advocacy. This is a journey every corporate should take.
That's very effectively, very simple, but very, very effectively put up, Umang. So thank you so much, right? And I can sense, I can feel your passion, right? And the energy that you exuberate in this.
Thank you.
And no wonders. Now, the powers coming to you. There's a myth, and let me ask you straight this question. While this is a good thing to do, it makes business sense to include this talent which is hidden somewhere, invisible, bring them up for their own self-humanity and also for the right business reason also. But I have an impression that still this is an MNC elite thing to do, because MNCs, somewhere in headquarters, there's a policy to include, or there's a mandate, you are an India outfit of that global company, it is easy for you to do, right? I personally feel, and I'm not passing a judgment, that's my observation, and I want you to correct me, that the corporates which are pure India corporates, right? They're far behind compared to the MNCs which have headquarters in those matured markets. or the societies or the cultures where it is an accepted thing, a norm thing, right? So what is your, and Jaya, you can also comment on, Umang, what are you seeing? Is it just an MNC elite thing to do, or it is spreading across?
Sanjeev, I haven't worked with the Indian, large organizations for a long time now, but I do have friends, and I think there is progress happening there because a lot of talent is actually portable across an Indian large organization or a global large organization. So I think they are making progress, but I would completely agree with you that they are slightly behind because their thinking is more limited to the markets that they are operating in, and I would say the West has done slightly more in terms of communication, in terms of education and adoption. The rest of the world is definitely on a catch-up mode right now. But I do feel that with all the new startups in India, they are showing some really great thinking in terms of leading here, because they are pretty large Indian startups who have global mindset and more progressive thought leadership as well. So I think we are getting there, but in a traditional company, yes, the movement is slow. But in startups which are originating from India, they are at par with any global organization from their policies and their guidance and their adoption perspective.
So as a HR community, or I mean, most of us are from HR community. If we have to really accelerate this journey, I think a special focus would be needed to those organizations which are traditional or maybe India based, where there is no influence of their MN's headquarter, right? They would take much more courage, much more efforts to make it happen, right? Umang, do you see that? Because you are very closely connected with your colleagues, from LGBTQI community. Do you see that happening, that, in non-MNC or, companies which are purely India born, there's a little slow progress compared to...
Absolutely. Corporates are more open, especially it is coming from the headquarters, So if you have a headquarter in UK, and if you have a news in your Indian thing that there is some discrimination, it will affect your reputation. So corporates are more open, to do that. And it is like sustainability, this is going to be sustainable. LGBT inclusion is sustainability. So when you are talking about sustainability, this is a part of it. Coming to your question, yes, small companies, one-man show companies are taking time to come up, but things are changing. But yes, I completely agree with you that corporates, when it comes to MNCs, are more open to diversity and inclusion policies, having new talent, and giving a space to open up. For small agencies, it will take some time.
Yeah.
I'll just add to that, Sanjeev, just one point for India. And, luckily I go to India every year, at least twice a year. So, and
next time we should meet.
Absolutely. So unlike, say, for example, I'll give you an example. If there is a Dalit, and a poor person in India, the family is standing behind that person, okay, to support. The problem with this pride community is that in many a times the family is the one who deserts the individual the first. Okay, so we're talking of society, which comes next. You get deserted, far more than anywhere else. Workplaces are still a far remote thing from your family. So you are suffering at the hands of your own family, and your mental state is such that your work and everything gets impacted there. So it has to happen at home first, the acceptance, and that individual will be in the right mindset to bring that to the office or the workplace, and spread that message as well. Like Umang said, that the whole glossary has to be explained, the whole concept has to be explained, and probably some of the middle and old aged parents and relatives have to be educated more than even the workplace individuals. I would say that's where it starts from.
Okay. Last year, we had a similar discussion around the same time, and we had Umang, you would know, Ankit came here. I mean, he's a very big advocate. Again, we got him here. We're lucky to get him here, and he has spoken at UN about this subject, about advocacy. He's done amazing amount of work, so we're lucky to get him here. he shared one thing with me during COVID time, Jaya, coming to what you're saying. A lot of people, LGBTQI community who came to cities and working with some corporates, they felt comfortable, they opened, they disclosed, right? COVID came, a lot of people had to go back to their villages or their places, and they suffered because what the freedom they had in the city, they suffered going back to their own native villages. And he did mention, it's a sad thing. He said, I know, Sanjeev, there were 8 people who committed suicide because of this kind of pressure and the stress that they went through, because they had to go back to their places and where they were suffocating and they were not able to cope up with that, right? So it's you're right, it's an issue, in terms of the family. I mean, this issue is so complex, it has to be dealt with at all fronts, right? We have to fight this battle from all fronts, from the society, from the friends, from the families, and from the corporate. But I think, let's do what we can do, our bit in this, right? What we can do.
Sanjay, I just want to share something very important because you've touched a chord. First of all, what I want to tell you is that, first is a self-stigma. I'm very ashamed that I'm gay. There's a self-stigma that I'm inferior, I'm lower. 2% of the population have blue eyes. When you have blue eyes, you're very proud. I'm different, I'm unique. 4 to 8% are LGBT. Why are you not different and proud? You're unique. Why? It has to come from inside. You are not proud because the outside society is not accepting you. You are not abnormality. You are in minority. That's it. Secondly, the world around will take time to change, Sanjeev. If I go home and my mother is telling me, sitting on my head, shadi kar, everybody in India, there is no concept as privacy. The stranger will come. Abhi tak shadi nahi hua. See, what you need to understand at that point of time, this is very, very important. My mother, my society doesn't hate me. It is his conditioning, upbringing ke 30 saal mein shadi hona chahiye. They were not born hating me. The society, the media, they have put this into this head that I should get married at this age. If you understand that my mother is behaving as per the society's conditioning, she doesn't hate me, I am free. The suffering stops. They don't hate me. They are just reacting to their conditioning. Even if he's calling me Baila, Chakka, Ijra, he doesn't hate me. He was not born hating me. उसको किसके दिमाग में डाला है कि ये लोग को ऐसे बोलो, ऐसे चिढ़ाओ, मारो. Of course, you need to fight with them. The society will change, but it will take long time. First thing is I have to change my response. My mother is not bad. That man is not bad. Somebody has put into this head. I need to understand that.
Yeah. Absolutely right. And this narrative, and Jaya, maybe Jaya or Pavas, you could tell me. I speak to a lot of people as a part of my consulting and in my corporate life. It's a small company. You speak to so many people around you. I hear a very disturbing, comment from most of the people, and I have no hesitation in saying from our HR community also. Hey, what are you doing in your diversity and inclusion strategy for the organization? He said, hey, we are just a beginning stage. We are just focused on gender diversity. That's all. My only problem is, and my observation is, it comes as a sequence. First, we'll deal with the gender diversity. Once we have done it sequentially, then we will do maybe diversity about disability. We'll do. Then possibly we'll do something about maybe generational diversity. Then we'll do something about LGBTQ. There's a queue system, right? Now, that is disturbing. It'll be too late. It'll be too late and very small and very delayed action, right? And that's my worry, right? I hear this, that's my impression. Do you guys also see that? Sometimes people say, oh, we are not matured, we will just go focus on D&I, gender diversity, we are done with it. LGBT, wo baad mein hoga kabhi, right? Something like that. Do you hear that? Isn't it disturbing?
So Sanjeev, I agree with you that, the speed or the amount of work that has gone on gender the equal amount of work has not happened on the side of the whole LGBTQ encouragement. However, however, the other side is also that I don't see a lot of discrimination, and maybe the organizations that I've worked with have not discriminated just because, you know, you're an LGBTQ orientation person. Or there aren't salary discriminations or promotion discriminations as a result of orientation. So that has not happened, but you have also mentioned that it's a very MNC, you know, way of looking things where, you know, you don't make discriminations based on that. However, these are some things which are hidden, and there are some microaggressions which are happening in places which is not visible. Those microaggressions are the one which, you know, we as HR professionals will have to tap. Think about a conflict situation. There is a conflict at workplace, and you have somebody from the pride team on one side, you know, and the other side. How will that conflict resolution happen? Okay. If that conflict resolution is done differently than what it would have been otherwise, that's where you tap it. Okay. You will have to see your policies, make a committee and make your policies to be looked from the lens of a transgender. Okay, will this transgender person read your policy as not being discriminating? Because I may not be into that, you know, orientation, so I may not be able to understand what it means. So unless you are in it, probably you may not be able to empathize with it. So because, like Umang said, 96% is the other side. So you can't be, you know, unless you are represented, you will not get that seat. So you need to have the representation coming from having a review of your policies, from having you know, your interview panel with not all white old aged men interviewing people who probably may come with a mindset that, you know, certain people are the ones who you would take. It requires a lot of work. There's a long way for us to go on that, and we don't understand because probably, you know, the microaggressions have still not hit and, you know, become a bigger bubble still. So therefore that realization has not hit. But yes, there's a lot of road to be covered on that front.
You know, just maybe build on to that. You know, I do feel that companies do have a long list, but, you know, if you were to clearly define what is the outcome that we are expecting, right? Are we kind of interested in doing it more from a branding perspective, or we are seriously looking at expanding our talent pool, right? I recently, you know, read, and one of the interns shared with me that folks who have ADHD, right, they do a better job at analytics.
Absolutely.
Now, right. So clearly there's a linkage in terms of how can we expand the talent pool. Like I gave you an example of my HR team in the Philippines. You know, they were the top talent in terms of what they were doing. So I think we need to get slightly more broader in terms of linking this initiative more in terms of the outcome that we can achieve as an organization versus trying to do it just because the world is doing it. And you know, second thing that I do want to say is that there's so much of work that is happening across the world, across India. You know, there is no need for us to kind of demonstrate thought leadership in the space and say that, you know, we want to do a bottoms up thinking. I would say shamelessly just pick up the best practices, talk to Umang, who has, you know, so much of knowledge, and other organizations, and just adopt. You don't need to really strategize and do brainstorming because the world has thought about it. There are organizations who are progressive. There are companies who are willing to help. So my kind of ask from all the HR people would be that, you know, don't try to demonstrate thought leadership. That will save you time. Talk to experts, talk to organizations who have already done it. Just pick it up shamelessly. You will still do proud to yourself and to your organization.
That's true.
Thank you, Pawas. Sanjeev, I want to just share this. You know, mine is a very different answer. See, it all has to come from within. Whether you can either make excuses or you can make a difference, you know. It has to come from within that I really want to do it. I am small and all that. See, I'll give you one example which we all have seen. 40 years back, A college made a room for Sudha Murthy in an engineering college where she became the only woman. The principal had a choice. Nobody has done it. But principal made room for Sudha Murthy. There were no toilets also for women. But it made room because the college wanted to. The principal it came from one individual. That principal to open doors for women to run engineering. It can be a small, I don't know, one-man show, but a desire from inside humanity that I want to give them space. All these policies and all are very good in, I mean to say at work desk and all in principle, but end of the day, it is from the heart. You want to help and, want to reach out.
Correct. So there was a question here. How can, there are two things, fundamental, basic things. I'm an organization. I have a keen interest. I listen to all of you. I'm feeling inspired. I want to do something, but I don't know how do I start, right? So if there's an organization which is absolutely on the ground zero, and this question is anyone can make it very simple. I'm at a ground zero. I want to do, I feel inspired from Umang, what you're saying, Powers, what you're saying, Jaya, what you're saying. I don't know where to start with, right? So what's the starting point? Simple.
So you call up an expert, you call an expert who does workshops, awareness programs, and he will handhold you, As I said, any company can handhold from familiarity to advocacy. So you tie up with association, Rainbow Alliance, call experts, and do workshop, awareness program, and that's how it happens.
So this is a starting point, right? I mean, do you agree, Jaya and Powers? Anything?
I completely agree. There's so much of ignorance in the system, Sanjeev, that half of it you ask so many people, they may not be able to elaborate what LGBTQ means, right?
I struggled.
Let alone going deeper
into. Read up. Let me confess, I did not know the meaning of LGBTQAI plus. I still struggle. I stutter when I speak. I can't say it still fluently. So we all are in the, and I have no shame in saying that. We are all learning, actually.
Yeah.
Starting is awareness, right?
Right. And I would, like Umang said, there are experts available from the Pride community. They can come and do a gap assessment, right? And like Umang said, awareness is extremely important because only once the environment is safe will people start opening up.
Yeah. Okay. So second thing is, any movement, it's a movement, I would call it, right? Because it's huge in terms of the energy that you need behind it to make it successful, right? And Jaya, you alluded to that point. Allies are most important in the whole mission. You cannot do, even if you feel, oh, I want to disclose, I'm courageous, I'm bold, right? But unless people around you support you, otherwise, if they pull you down every day, you get exhausted. Everyone has a very limited capacity, isn't it? How any good practice, that you have seen, Powers and Jaya and Umang, from your point of view, how do we build this camaraderie and the allies in the organization I'm talking about, and not by per force, oh, you have to declare that you are an ally. No. How do we really influence and inspire, maybe training them on the narrative, education? What have been some good practices that you have seen? Let me know.
Storytelling, I think that's a very strong, it's a very, very strong way. Any common person understands the storytelling method, right? And I have followed that in the organization where we don't pressurize. The whole ally group comes and says, how does this acceptance comes, and and then advocacy of it happens. Is that only can happen. The advocacy can be done somebody who's very comfortable in the skin, who can talk about it, and maybe the person would have gone through a lot of upheaval. Still, the person comes to the stage where the person can now talk about it openly. We've brought about those individuals and they have shared their stories. The whole storytelling method have brought people to say, no, there's not as much of a stigma as it is. And and corporate environments are much more, I would say, matured, and that's my view of it. In terms of accepting this, we'll have to bring this more. And if this whole thing starts from the corporate and builds it to these individuals, individuals going to the society and saying, there's nothing wrong about it. So what if it happens in my house? So what if my child is a gay? It doesn't really matter. That's the test of time, right? That's the test of the litmus test of it.
Yeah.
So yes, storytelling for me is a big method, apart from the ally method, that I would say is a good.
And you're right. I mean, what we heard from Umang, the way he narrated his story and his real true story, right? The impact it has, right? I mean, is huge, right? I mean, it cannot be replaced. It cannot be replaced, isn't it?
Yeah. And Sanjay, just one more point. When we talk about storytelling, I think storytelling not just of the members from the Pride community, but there are other employees or people who are differently able. The storytelling can also start from there and lead to the wider canvas. So it is not that you need to find a spokesperson of a particular type. The bigger thing is acceptance. When the organization is kind of accepting people of all types, then storytelling can start from there as well. So I wanted to just call that out because my personal experience has been that safe environment, I'm repeating it again, safe environment is the key to really have people open up and accept who they are.
Thank you. I think storytelling is a good idea. Yeah, sorry, Sanjeev.
One very technical question here, and there's a question from Purnima as well. She's saying, hey, I want to, starting is yes, awareness, but I want to hire more people, right? I'm very keen, right? But I don't know where to go. I mean, should I advertise saying that hiring drive as we used to do earlier, if you remember, Jaya, that women only hiring kind of thing drive,
Yeah.
or or hiring for LGBT only, right? I mean, what is the guidance, Umang? Anyone from you?
Gosh.
How can I accelerate?
Let me go with this.
Hiring?
There is a company called 6 Degrees Network, okay, which is a networking platform for LGBT community. I've shared my number in the chat box. I can give them. It's a networking forum, especially for the LGBT community. So you can post your ads over there. And there are also people who are looking for a job, and we regularly have networking events. So 6 Degrees is one place,
Any, and Jaya, from you, do you know any resource?
No, so in the job advertisement,
sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
You put, Sanjeev, you put a Pride community. Okay, I'll just repeat. I said in the job advertisement for some of the matured companies on this, you'd always find a line in the job advertisement saying we are supporters of Pride. So, you and I, all of us reading it, and the people who have an they'll feel safe to apply. So it's a subtle way, not just going, but there is a clear-cut line. And if you go to LinkedIn, go to some of the big MNCs and see the job you will find that line in the job advertisement.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking you, let a straight question. I mean, are you in favor of saying, special drive for LGBTQI? Is it absolutely no? Or
so Sanjeev, absolutely, why not, right? If you can have a drive to hire more women in the organization, if you can have leadership program just for women or men, then why not have leadership programs, referral programs, internship program only for the Pride community? So I would say why not? Because at times you need to be out and open, talk about it, and let people know that you are open to hire.
But tell me, let me ask you a counter question. Do you see a rebuttal from the rest of the organization? Hey, why this special favor, right? I mean, it should be on merit, right? So you hear those kind of questions as HR leader, right? How do we address that?
Because we are marginalized. Sorry, go ahead, Jaya.
Yeah. That was exactly what I was about to say. Whenever a community is marginalized, it needs that special treatment to bring to an equitable level, and then that thing happens. You can't say that I'm completely marginalized and yet I will be treated the same. So it's
you have
for
to
them
uplift a little bit. You have to uplift a little bit. That's okay. So Vijaya, can you share the screen because we are running now almost close to the time. I have to make a couple of very quick announcements for a minute. So as Enabling World, we do offer certain, like Umang was mentioning, certain resources and help to corporates who are interested in some kind of services, maybe training or related. That is one. So please reach out to us. Second is, there'll be a quick poll here. There'll be a quick poll from my team here. Please take 30 seconds to rate. How did you like this conversation? Was it useful to you? in terms of, improving your awareness or giving some ideas of how you could go about it is I want to know, and please rate that. But before I close, a rapid fire round, right? So let me start, Umang, with you. If you have to give one piece of advice to the talent from LGBTQI community, right, who's struggling, who wants to come into the workforce, what is one piece of advice, very crisp?
I'm telling that just accept yourself wholly, completely. First of all, stop being ashamed of yourself. Be yourself and go ahead and fight for it.
Okay. And Jaya, to you, thank you very much. Jaya, if you have to give one piece of advice to allies, right, who want to become allies, who are in the process or who have declared that, yes, I'm an ally, what is one piece of advice to them?
I think, it's just expressing and being confident about it, and let the corporate support it. That's probably what I would see. The ally has to be sitting and being empathetic about the whole, and sympathy and empathy are different. I'm sure everybody is aware about it. So we are not wanting any sympathy on this community. We just have to be empathetic.
Pawas, to you, last question. If you have to give one piece of advice to the, our HR leaders who are in this call or otherwise who may listen to your talk later on, or to the business leaders, one piece of advice in their, journey towards creating their workplace LGBTQI inclusive, what will that be?
So, two things, and I will say, Sanjeev, not one. The first thing would be that you are just expanding your talent pool. You're not doing it for branding and marketing. There's a huge talent pool out there which you have to tap. Second is, shamelessly copy, replicate what others are doing. No one is going to shoot you down for it.
Thank you. That was lovely piece of advice. Very crisp, simple, doable. Thank you very much for that. So with that, we'll come to a close of the session. So I can't thank you enough, Umang, you, Jaya, and Pawas, for bringing so much of knowledge in 1 hour. And I'm feeling really inspired. Honestly, I'm feeling very, very inspired. And I'm more optimistic than what I was before the session began. And let's continue this journey, and wish you all the best. You put your email addresses in the chat. We'll try to share with you some resources around this so that you all can make a baby step into this journey. And let's see how it goes. And let's create this world a beautiful place, a place where everyone can feel comfortable and safe, as everyone else is. So with that, stay safe. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed this discussion. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sanjeev, for inviting me and making such progressive initiative. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Nice meeting you, Jaya. Nice meeting you, Pawas.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
audience. You are amazing. I think there was so much of engagement which was going on in parallel, which was amazing. Thank you very much for joining in. And we'll keep this recording on the YouTube channel for anyone who wants to share it further or wants to maybe go through again, or for those who missed it, you can always watch it on our YouTube channel. Stay safe till that time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good day. Bye.
You.